What is the connection between fine arts and dermatology? Can dermatology be considered art? Are dermatologists artists of the skin? Welcome to the EADV podcast. In today's episode, Professor Johannes Ring, Professor Günter Burg, and Dr. Michael Geiges attempt to explore parallels between fine arts and dermatology in skin representations and the search for the flawlessness of the incarnate, referencing the book DermARTology. Professor Günter Burg is a longtime chairman at the Department of Dermatology of Zurich University. He has provided crucial international momentum through his work in dermato-oncology and dermatohistopathology, especially in cutaneous lymphomas and malignant melanoma. After retiring in 2006, his main interest is medical education and training on the international level. Dr. Michael Geiges is a senior physician at the Dermatology Clinic of the University Hospital of Zurich and a research associate at the Institute of Evolutionary Medicine of the University of Zurich. He is also the director of the Museum of Wax Museology in Zurich. He is a board member of several dermatological and historical medical societies and the president of the European Society of History of Dermatology and Venereology.
Get ready to experience cutting-edge science and innovation in dermatology and venereology at the upcoming E86 Congress in Berlin, Germany from the 11th to the 14th of October 2023. The Congress is one of the largest international gatherings dedicated to dermatology and venereology, providing a platform for the brightest minds in research, clinicians, and top industry professionals to come together, make connections, and foster scientific collaboration. The diverse CME-accredited interactive program covering the full A to Z of hot topics also includes innovative hands-on workshops, subspecialty sessions, and industry sessions. The exhibition hall will provide opportunities for delegates to explore the latest technologies, treatments, and products in the field to date. The wait is over. Tickets to attend the Congress on-site in Berlin are on sale now. Be sure to check out eadvcongress2023.org for more information.
And now, the floor goes to the professors.
Hello, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. This is a special podcast to the topic dermatology and art, the skin in the arts. And my name is Johannes Ring. I'm the editor-in-chief of our journal, JEADV, and I'm very happy to welcome here in the studio two experts, namely Professor Günter Burg, Professor Emeritus, longtime chairman at the Department of Dermatology of Zurich University, and also very actively engaged in teaching, education, founder of the project Do It, himself expert of lymphoma and having written many, many books. And together with him is Dr. Michael Geiges, who is also a dermatologist, but also very much interested in history of medicine and history of arts, and is a curator of the Wax Museology Museum and also head of a task force of EADV. So I would like to start addressing Günter Burg. And I should mention that both of them, and together with the third author, Katrin Hook, they just wrote a beautiful book called DermARTology. And so, Professor Burg, how did you come to write this book? May you briefly, or what made you come to this idea?
I mean, like most dermatologists, I also, during my lecturing time, I was aware of the many paintings which show dermatosis. So maybe it's very known, the painting of Domenico, who showed the rhinophyma, and this painting is called Old Man with his grandson. So there is no mentioning of rhinophyma because at that time, at least the painters did not know anything about dermatosis. So this was one point which brought me using these paintings during the lecture time. And the other thing is just the idea that and the a little bit serendipity, a lucky idea that there obviously on the market was not yet any book which put together all these paintings. And so I started to look through the many catalogs and also museums and wherever one can find these paintings. And I figured out and collected a few of them and put them together with Michael Geiges, who was dealing with the moulage part, and with an curator of the Zürich Kunsthaus, Katrin Hug, who gave us a lot of very good advices how to write this book together.
And I should really mention, this is a very beautiful book with so many beautiful pictures. And you will be surprised what you probably might have missed in some museum walking through. And it's very interesting. And Dr. Geiges, please, what is your motivation in here?
Well, Günter told me about this project, and we've done other medical, historical, or cultural projects together, and I was extremely interested in this. Dermatology is visual, extremely visual, and as the curator of the Wax Moulages Museum in Zurich, I'm involved also in the history of pictures in dermatology, which are of great importance today. We always show pictures in lectures. We talk about what we see, and this was not always like this, and especially wax moulages have been of importance for teaching, are still or again important of teaching. So we have a collection for more than 2,500 moulages, and we use them in teaching. And therefore, the idea of using also pictures of moulages in this book to show the diseases made it interesting. So I was directly concerned, and also for the medical historical part, of course, as I'm working 50% as a medical historian. So that's how I came to this book.
So when this came to my mind, of course, dermatology and art. So what would you associate? I thought, okay, maybe some paintings have a dermatological disease, like Günter Burg mentioned at the beginning, but there's also much more. Is dermatology an art? Günter, what do you think?
It's certainly an art. If one looks for a product, if you talk about art, then the producer of the art is an artist. So dermatologists are artists, and everybody is vain, and everybody is trying to have a smooth skin, to be young and beauty. I mean the dermatologists, are the only discipline which cares of the smoothiness of its organ. I mean, look at the gastroenterologists or the neurologists. I mean, nobody would get to the idea to have no folds or no wrinkles, or to get rid of them. So in this respect, which is a little bit ridiculous, certainly. Sorry for this comment, but we are the people and the doctors who look for the beauty of our organ we take care for. If I just may add to what Michael Geiges just said, I looked in searching in the paintings of great old masters, I looked for the two-dimensional projection, whereas in and the two-dimensional of painters who always tried to idealize the skin, so to make it as they didn't paint so many things which they saw, but due to the persons who gave him the told the painter to make a picture, a portrait, they did not dare to show all the ugly changes of the skin, maybe. And Michael Geiges with the moulages is looking for the three-dimensional, and in a very academic way, it's the intention of the moulages to show not ugly, but to show the diseased skin. Whereas in the two-dimensional paintings, the skin is always idealized.
Well, and that's very well taken. But also, I think among dermatologists, there is a special dermatologic aesthetics. So we sometimes discover ourselves talking about such a beautiful psoriasis. The patient doesn't like it at all. But what is the basis of our aesthetics in this moment?
I think in this respect, moulages are really interesting, and it fits a bit also to the reason why we decided to show pictures of moulages, because they are art also, and you get a little bit of a distance to the real patients. Moulages are made over a cast, so they really show how it looks like, and also as a dermatologist, you have to approve they are extremely realistic, but still they are out of wax and they are art objects, which makes it easier to look at these, as Günter said, sometimes ugly things. We have moulages that show somehow the beauty of diseases like erythema guratum or other diseases with really fascinating yes, the picture is just fascinating and somehow aesthetic. And I think especially for lay people looking at our book, it is easier to look at the moulage, a picture of a moulage, to see how this disease looks in reality. And it's just not as ugly as if you show a picture of a patient with that same disease and it looks the same, but still it's a bit softer and more aesthetic. So moulages are something in between the reality and art.
Yeah. Thank you. I think also that a picture of a skin disease can be beautiful as if it's very typical. So when we have the ideal of a classical morphology, then the dermatologist says, this is a beautiful eczema or psoriasis. And this has been very well worked out in the moulages. That's quite clear. Or in those old pictures or paintings, you also have in your book, Günter, from the Vienna masters, showing the description or depiction of the skin disease. Is this also, has there been an exhibition of the artwork of medical textbooks?
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're addressing, I think, especially Hebra's book.
Yes.
Where in former times, there were no photographs. Maybe Michael can comment on this a little bit more. Photographs. So one had to have paintings. They were very, very expensive. And in Hebra's book, there are a lot of extremely nice pictures. They are not showing the skin disease, but also the clothes with all the folds and the colors and whatever. So they are really arts. And especially Dr. Karl Heitzmann was the one who illustrated the Hebra books, and a few of these pictures are included in our common in our book, which we edited together.
It's the clothing and things like this it was also the idea. Alibert, who made also such a nice atlas, he wrote that he on purpose shows a lot around, so it makes it's easier for the students to remember the person if it's a special person in a special surrounding. So that's probably one thing. The other thing is, as you said, this book was extremely expensive, so no one actually really was able to buy it. So it was a disaster for Hebra from the financial point of view. But it was probably not his intention. His intention was more to make a book that would not have been forgotten, which he was successful in. We still talk about it. And it was with the help of the moulages again that the first books with good pictures that you could really use for teaching and learning dermatology, the moulages were used because at around 1903, 4, 5, 6, 7, colored pictures were possible, but you had to have long exposure times and you had to expose 3 times for each color. And it was just not possible to make pictures of a moving object. So although it was very expensive, you could make a moulage, and then moulages don't move. And then you could make colored pictures of moulages. So you find the first atlases that students have been able to buy because they were not so expensive. They all show pictures of moulages until the 1950s, and then colored photography was able to really be used in dermatology.
You mentioned more than 2,000 moulages. Did I understand correctly?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Where do you put them? Is the hospital large enough?
Well, there is a public museum, and we show around 600 moulages.
Wow.
The museum is part of the International Council of Museums. So, yes, and we have a depot for the rest. And what is most important, in my team, I have now 2 professional restorers and conservers that take care for these objects, because wax, they are more than 100 years old, is not so easy to. Well, on one hand, it's stable. On the other hand, it's extremely breakable, and you have to take care of. So we are in a good position. We have a good depot and a nice museum.
What are your main competitors in Paris, Hôpital Saint-Louis, or are there other ones?
I think it's a network and a team. We're not competitors. And Saint-Louis is great, of course. Yes, but concerning the conservative aspect, Zurich is one of the leading institutions for actually all these collections when they have questions about handling moulages or showing moulages.
Maybe can I add something?
Please.
Maybe Michael Geiges, as the head of this museum, is a little bit, or could be a little bit biased. One could think. He is not. He is not, because I really, not responsible for this museum. I really can confirm that this is an excellent collection, which was by his pre-successor and people before him, Elsbeth Stoiber and others, was collected and preserved over the World War, where these wax moulages were in danger to get melted, and she kept it. And now Michael Geiges is going on and conserving this in a brilliant way. So I would like to confirm this.
So one has to drop by.
Yeah.
Let's switch the topic a little bit.
Yep.
Let's take the skin now as a canvas to put art on top of the skin. I'm talking about people tattooing, piercing there. what is your opinion to that, Günter Burg?
I mean, tattooing, piercing, burning, and all these techniques, and also the cosmetics some way. I have a very bad lecture in my portfolio, which is skin or dermatology and cosmetics, two sides of one coin. And I'm always shouting about the a little bit. I mean, not it's there, and the need is there for cosmetics. But you have to say a medicament which with such few effect and such high costs never would pass the FDA or any other. So this relationship between costs and effect is a little bit, I mean, strange. Yeah.
So
but
you would not give the young
needed.
people advice to be tattooed?
Yeah. No, yeah, tattoo. I mean, when we were young, Johannes, long time ago, you know that you know that the when we saw a tattooed person, we always thought him he comes from the sea or is
Yes.
a socially underdog. And I mean, today it's no longer that. It's no
Yes.
longer. And I changed my mind completely.
Which is from the medical historical point of view interesting, because you find the same comments every 50 years. If you look back even 200 years ago, people thought that tattooing was never really so common, except then in their time when they were living. So it's a change. In 200 years ago, there were lots of tattoos, but they were not shown on the street, of course. But high upper class people, it was en vogue to have a tattoo somewhere. So I think probably it's really a bit more often, but the difference is not so big. So tattooing seems to be somehow a need of the human being, and it's always looked at as if it would be strange and something new in this way it is. But from the medical historical point of view, it's not really that case. It's just the impression we have, but all our ancestors had the same impression too.
Okay, so let's be very tolerant. But coming back to dermatology and art, people say medicine general is an art, but I feel maybe dermatology is very special art. So, Günther, would you reflect a bit on why is dermatology a special art? Because of the visual aspect, or?
Yeah, they just finished a very nice exhibition in the Zurich Kunsthaus, which was called, and Katrin Hug, the co-editor of the book, was the curator. This exhibition was called Take Care, and it dealt mostly with non-dermatology relationship between patients and doctors. So I think, as or I tried to state in the beginning, I think we are looking for a excellent product, which is a skin. And if this product or this object is diseased, we try to cure it and to make us beauty and nice and smooth, because we all are vain, everybody. If
Maybe
he
it's
or
not
she is
only, sorry, please continue.
I'm finished.
Maybe it's not only vanity. I think to have smooth skin is not only the aesthetic part, but also a functional. So we can also always argue that we restore or maintain skin function doing those procedures. And so it's not only cosmetics what we are doing. And coming what I wanted to ask you about the visual capacity. I think the dermatologist has to have a very special talent in looking at objects and recognizing patterns and things. And is this a talent only, or can this be taught? Can we teach our youngsters?
I think it's both. It's genetically, I think we dermatologists all are morphologists in the first place, and therefore we went into this discipline, I think. In former times, and maybe Michael Geiges can comment on this, we were the visible period of dermatology was 100 years ago or 200 years ago when Wieland described his lesions. And then this changed. Today we are looking much more on the invisible part. That means molecular biology and all the tests. We are looking under or into the skin functionally. But I think we are coming back again from function and from molecular biology back to pure morphology again, because all these sophisticated methods help us much better to understand what we see.
Yes, I would agree that the basis of everything is first what we see. We usually make a differential diagnosis because of what we see. And coming back to the question about the teaching, of course, it's some people have it easier than others, but I always compare it with reading. If you have to learn the efflorescences as a student, it's not so easy, but it's like if you learn the ABC, which is not so easy in primary school. And I would say, as a general practitioner, you're able to read some words, but if you really you have a lot of exercise. I mean, we all as doctors, we don't read words. We don't even read sentences. We look at them and we understand them. And sometimes we find a word that we don't know. And then if it's bad, we really have to read the word itself to understand it. But usually we just look at it. And that's how it is in dermatology. First, you read the words and then you read them so fast that you read the sentences, and by the years you look at the sentence or at the skin and you just see what it is without reading it. So there's a lot of practice, and once again, that's the reason why moulages and pictures and patients are so important in lectures.
I like your comparison. So let's go to be the Shakespeare of the efflorescences to have some goal. But finally, I have a question to both of you. Dermatology and art, if this is so closely connected, do you know good artists who are also good dermatology? You know, among the colleagues, some artists doing paintings or sculpturings?
Günter?
I mean, during the American Academy of Dermatology, there always every year is a exhibition of dermatologists who paint.
Okay.
I hate these a little bit, but that's my personal feeling. I hate these non-professional people who try to do something in addition, even though they are. But it's, I mean, the quality is maybe sometimes good, but mostly it's not so overwhelming, I would say.
Okay.
But there are other people who also are doing this. It's there is one Dr. Parker, I think, who gave who asked an artist to paint diseased skin. And the artist is Irvin Albright. So there are some connections between, the simple non-professional and the more professional people who really are dealing with the skin as an object to be painted or to be sculptured or whatever.
Thank you. So I think this was a very interesting round we had here. The skin in art, dermatology in art, dermatology as an art. And we can conclude that this is worthwhile to deal with this subject. It's especially worthwhile to read this book, DermARTology by Burg, Geiges and C. And it is worthwhile to involve this knowledge and this aspect into our teaching of students and residents. With this, thank you very much, Günter Burg. Thank you very much, Michael Geiges, and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before you go, a quick favour. If you are a regular listener to our podcast, we would love to hear from you. Your feedback will help us improve the show and develop episodes that you are interested in hearing. To participate in the short survey, simply follow the link in the show notes of this episode. Thank you for your support, it means a lot. We look forward to hearing from you. Until the next episode, take care of your skin.